Hey everybody, Adrian here with blendrecommender.com. I'm going to make a tobacco recommendation and then also I'd like to make some book recommendations to go along with some of the tobaccos. Number one, this is probably the first English I ever smoked. Fell in love with it a few years back. Went into my brick and mortar and saw that they had Dunhill, my mixture 965, and I'm lucky that they carry it in bulk and the tin, and I don't discern a huge difference between the two. So for the most part, I can get by with smoking the bulk version, and I love it so much that I always like to have it on hand. So that is more economical for me to do it that way. I was primarily interested in that blend over all of the other options because I've always been a big reader and a big fan of William Faulkner. Just a little background, one of my family members was an English professor, and he focused a lot of his classes and teaching Faulkner. So from a very early age, just seeing members of my family revere Faulkner's writing so much, and I looked up to them obviously, so I had a lot of respect for Faulkner, and it took me a long time to be able to read William Faulkner's works and to actually enjoy them. I wanted to get it so bad, but it took a long time before I actually did. So for anybody interested in trying one of William Faulkner's works, if you want to see what he's all about, this time of year I always reread Light in August. It's an excellent story, and it's complicated. It's written in typical, there's plenty of stream of consciousness in this one. It's not nearly as difficult to get through though as The Sound and the Fury. So if you had to read The Sound and the Fury in school and gave up on Faulkner, I don't blame you one bit. That book is so complex and so hard to follow. I may have read it 5 or 6 times now, and I still pick up so many more things when I reread it. This one's not nearly as hard to follow along, but I don't know if I would recommend it as the first foray, if you will, into Faulkner. If you're interested, I usually recommend the Unvanquished. This one is written in a much more simplistic style. The storytelling is a lot more straightforward. You can follow along the plot a little easier than some of his other more monumental works, Sound of the Fury being one, Light in August, As I Lay Dying, and even Absalom, which is another incredible book. They're all tougher to follow along and get into and enjoy. This one takes place during the Civil War, so it's right, if you like, if you're interested in that time period, there's plenty to like in this book. So I would definitely recommend the Unvanquished as a starting point for Faulkner. And of course, my mixture 965 be a great blend to go along with that book. I love this blend so much for me because even though I've done a video and talked about Samuel Galwith's Squadron Leader before, and how it's kind of the baseline for so many people when it comes to English blends, it's the quintessential English blend according to so many people. I don't disagree. I think that's a very fair assessment of Squadron Leader, but for me, my mixture 965 is that baseline to which I measure all other Latakia containing blends. It's not the most interesting, it's not the most intricate by any means. It is Latakia forward. It's not only campfire, it is like well-used hearth in tin note and beard note. It definitely, that smoky, woodsy smell from the Latakia is very prominent because it is so Latakia forward. And then there are some Orientals, some Virginias, and then what a little bit unique is the inclusion of brown Cavendish, which is the unsweetened Cavendish. It's stove, and it's mild, and I think that probably has more, it offers more to the blend in the way of balancing it out and helping the burn rate and smoothing it out a bit, more so than actually affects the flavor of the blend. But it's definitely strong. I would say it is a medium plus blend in body, and I've heard it described as being harsh by some, and I don't think it's harsh. I don't think it crosses that line, at least not for me, and I know that's very subjective. But I understand why people would say that if they're not, if they don't really enjoy a whole lot of Latakia, you're going to get a whole lot of Latakia in this blend. But for me, I always seem to go back to when I'm trying a new English blend. I'll say, this one is more Oriental forward. This one has, more of a floral note, or this one, is this or that in comparison to my Mixture 965. So I would highly recommend giving that one a shot. It's one that I go back to. It's like a ham sandwich. I can smoke it almost every day and never get sick of it. So highly recommend it. Now, other books and tobaccos to go with those books. Dark Fire, Kentucky, Burley's. We're talking about Kentucky. One of the best authors, one of my favorites, is from Kentucky. His name is Wendell Berry. If you're not familiar with Wendell Berry, he is an agrarian. He's an author of both fiction and nonfiction. And just like with William Faulkner and his fictional Yoknapatawpha County in Mississippi, Wendell Berry has created his own little world in Port William in Kentucky, and the people that come in and out of the different stories, they all weave in together. And I just got hooked on the first book that I ever read, and that was Jayber Crow. And I think it's an excellent entry point into Wendell Berry's world. The town that he's created, its history over the centuries. Jayber is the gentleman bachelor barber of the town. And for better or for worse for Jayber, it seems like everybody sees him as safe to confide in, so he gets to see a very unique perspective of the inhabitants of Port William. And there's a lot of humor in this book. Highly recommend it. It's a really good one. And of course, it's a great book to pair with your Burleys and Dark Fire, Kentucky, and put the regions together there. So many of the Virginias that we love actually come from North Carolina. North Carolina produces a lot of Virginias, and one of my favorite authors of all time, if not my favorite, is Charles Frazier. And you may recognize him. He's the author of Cold Mountain. That was his first book back in the 90s. It later became a movie, and it takes place during the Civil War. The book is fantastic. It's excellent. If you get a chance to listen to it on audiobook, Charles Frazier actually reads it. He narrates it in the audiobook version, and it is phenomenal. His accent is excellent, and it really brings the story to life just to hear the cadence, as he intended it when he was writing it. But his follow-up, his second book, 13 Moons, is actually, it may be my favorite book of all time, and I've read it and listened to the audiobook version, which is read by Will Patton, which is an absolutely phenomenal job, maybe 30 or 40 times. I just cannot get enough of it. This story spans the entirety of the 19th century, and it focuses around a character that is kind of loosely based on a real person that lived in the 19th century. But the main character of this book, his name is Will Cooper, and at a very young age, he's orphaned, taken in by his aunt and uncle, and sent off when he was like 13 to work a mercantile in what was then literally the frontier, the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in western North Carolina. And he is taken in by the Cherokee in that area, and he later becomes a chief of the tribe, and a lawyer, and a state senator, and then he's also, during the Civil War, becomes a colonel. So fascinating life, and the story follows the entire arc of his lifetime, and it's just told in such an amazing, descriptive, beautiful language. It's a wonderful book. I would definitely recommend reading that one while enjoying an excellent straight Virginia. Possibly I'll recommend McClellan 5100 Red Cake, and what a wonderful red Virginia that you can pick up economically and get plenty of it at a reasonable price to make it through the whole book. So I hope you will try one or all of those books, and I hope you enjoy them. And I also hope that if you've not already, pick up my Mixture 965, see what you think. I think it's a great blend. I recommend it. Until next time, enjoy your pipes. Have a great day.